So you want to work in the sound department and make movies and TV shows. Okay, where do you start? How about the sound mixer position? The department head who has to run the department, understand the politics of working with producers, directors, what to ask for, tech scouting, has to understand what the department needs regarding sound, RF modulation, boom operator position, sound utility position. No, let's not go there. How about the boom operator position? The person that runs the set makes all the decisions based on the rehearsal as to what the sound department needs, where plant microphones need to happen, how to swing a boom and when, and how to... No, that doesn't work. How about the sound utility? Okay, the sound utility is actually the jack of all trades of the department who has to understand and maintain the inventory of the department, has to wire talent under most circumstances. You have to do basically all the jobs in the department. The sound mixer gets a phone call to talk to a producer about the next show. That person has to jump in the mixing seat and mix the show. Or boom operator has a quick phone call they have to make. Same kind of thing, but they have to boom. So where exactly can you start in the sound department? Well, it's a very interesting job, the sound utility. And the reason why is because if we talk about the grip department, there's the key grip, then their best boy, who usually does tech scouts, does all the paperwork, maintains inventory, lines up things, make sure rigging is done. Okay, electricians, same thing. They're right-hand man, right-hand woman, whatever the case may be. It happens to be what? Same exact thing. Goes on tech scouts, lines up things, maintains the inventory, fixes lighting instruments, what have you. They do timesheets. They come in early. They leave late, just like in the grip department. But who does all that in the sound department? The boom operator, the second? No. It's actually the utility, the third. So in addition to the time cards, maintaining the inventory of the department, basically you can pick a job, and if it's not running the set, as the boom operator does, and if it is not sitting in the chair listening and maintaining the sound report and doing the mixing, the utility is basically doing the rest. Okay, so the sound utility position. Now, am I going to really get into that in this video? No. But what I am going to do is talk to you about the sound utility position from a perspective that as a boom operator, you do need to understand. Because this day and age, some people start as boom operators, and they do not ever work as a sound utility. And part of the reason is because they might have worked in on shows that, like for example, here in Atlanta, we have Tyler Perry Studios, where there are certain people that take certain jobs and they never deviate from it. There is one person that handles cables, one person that moves antenna, one person that actually lofts talent, and people that just boom. They don't actually do anything else. There's the one position. Just like in indies, there is a sound mixer and then there's the other person. Or in the world of reality TV, where you have a sound mixer and then you have an A2. Okay? So there may be a position in the department that is not sound mixer, but it is quite different from show to show if you have not been part of a three-man team. There's a lot that you got to understand. I just recently was working on a movie, and there was the sound utility who happened to be a sound mixer for over 20 years in the world of reality TV. And there were certain things that he just could not get a handle of and grasp as quickly as some of the people that I've trained to be a sound utility over the past few years. And that's what's interesting. It's not a job for everyone. You have to be a hustler. You have to be a go-getter. Hopefully by the time you're a boom operator, you have been a utility at least some. Maybe on a show, maybe you take a show every now and then as a sound utility just to refresh yourself and to remind you of what it really takes to be. So why am I going into all this? Because as a boom operator, you have to understand how to work with your sound utility, especially if you've never done it before, because that sound utility has a lot of tasks. They might have a pre-call, be responsible for moving all the gear around. You as the boom operator may also get a pre-call as well. In that case, you have to get gear in as well. You might be prepping your microphones, rebatting all your IFBs and your transmitters and stuff like that, or you may say the utility has to do that. But keep in mind this, the utility has enough going on. The utility is the jack of all trades for the department. They come in early, and in addition to moving everything in, they have to get the wires ready to wire talent. They also have to get the time code going. They have to prep and rebat everything, rebat the context, get context distributed. They have to make sure that the slate and time code to cameras is managed correctly. They have a lot of responsibilities that they have to do at the very beginning of the day. So, as a boom operator, understanding this, it is my recommendation that what a boom operator should do at the beginning of the day is get their own stuff ready. Here's why. Personally, I have a lot of preferences. A sound utility, I cannot expect to prepare my shock mount the way I want it to be. I mean, I could show them how, but if I'm going through and checking out my boom poles first thing in the morning and there's something sticky on there, I can't expect a utility to magically have checked that boom pole out. That's part of my responsibility. So don't rely on a sound utility to do that. Try to rely and lean on that utility as little as possible and make their life easier because they have enough on their hands. Now, here's what I mean. Here's a couple of examples, I should say. There's quite often times that I will be on a hot set. There will be, like, for example, when I was working on Walking Dead. Walking Dead is a show where every single day you're doing exteriors with a boom pole over actors' heads, full Zeppelin, sometimes wind on top of there, and the sound utility is also out there with a boom quite often as well. Not an easy show because a lot of the times, because they have 3 cameras, you are full stick or you're 15 to 18 feet out every single day for long takes. And actors are running all over the place. They may be running from walkers. They may be, fighting or whatever, yelling lines. So you have to play more air and then you have to dig in deep when they whisper something or they're like crying or whatever. There's a lot of things you have to do. But as a boom operator, you are on set. If you can pull yourself away to get your own waters, that would be great. The reason why I say that you should manage your own water and keep water in your system isn't just to stay hydrated. It's because the water is usually going to be somewhere close to set. And if not, you should be able to mention that to a PA, the key set PA, the second, somebody, and they'll bring water in your set on a hot day. It needs to be on set. And if you are right there on set, get your own water. What if there's a food truck? Well, if you can pull yourself away for a few minutes, you go and get yourself food. But then, as we know, there's usually long lines because after the camera department goes through there and after the production department goes through, grips and electrics, all these bigger departments, they stand in line. There may be 4 people in line, but because each one of them is ordering 10 things, it can take a while. By the time the sound mixer and the boom operator has a chance to pull themselves away, you are probably, as a sound utility, going to be touching up wires. You're going to be rejamming slates. You're going to be doing something, maybe rewiring wiring talent for the next scene, or this is now your time to get batteries recharging on your truck, on the sound trailer. There's a lot of responsibilities and stuff you have to do. So if, as a boom operator, you can get your own food, if you can manage yourself. And not just by going to the bathroom for yourself. I mean, geez, come on. You got to also, if you can, if you're going to get a water, don't hesitate to say, hey, sound mixer or utility, you want a water too. Because the utility's probably already working, at 5,000 miles an hour. Now, when a sound utility comes to set to second boom, don't just throw them out there and say, throw the stick out there, put the boom over this person. You have to work things out for them too. Because they're already coming out there and doing your job as a boom operator, but a sound utility is not normally paid nearly as well as a boom operator. And that could mean a couple of dollars. That could mean 10 or more dollars spread between the sound utility and the boom operator position. I mean, technically, the boom operator should get more as the second, but then the sound utility does so many things that it's my humble opinion that there needs to be less distance between the boom operator, sound utility, and the sound mixer. I think that we all have very critical roles, and I think we all are very key and responsible and key to getting great sound. And I think that we all should be much closer together on that. And as a matter of fact, I have been in positions before where I haven't liked the sound utility's rate, and I have said, you know what? To the sound mixer, if you sacrifice a couple of dollars from your rate, I'll do the same thing. Let's get the sound utility up. I've done that before because the sound utility is a very critical role. And the difference between a scale sound utility and a sound utility that's getting, 10 or so more dollars than overscale is quite a bit. The sound utility is a very critical position. And it's one that, as a boom operator, you are perhaps training that sound utility not just to be a boom operator, but because a sound utility oftentimes becomes a sound mixer and sometimes even bypassing the role of boom operator and has never done it before. So you are training a sound utility to be a potential boss one day. Just like how you want to be nice to the PAs around you because one day they're going to be a producer or UPM and they'll remember if you mistreated them. The sound utility will one day potentially be your boss as a sound mixer too, especially if you're like me and you're a career boom operator. I mean, I have no intention of being a sound mixer, but that doesn't mean that I won't be one day. I mean, I very well could. People have even asked me, why don't you become a sound mixer? Well, I could either be in high demand as a boom operator, or I can be on the lowest possible rung as a sound mixer and never work, or work occasionally. You kind of got to take the job seriously and be available in order for people to hire you as that. And if I continue to work as a boom operator, I'm never going to get those sound mixer jobs, am I? Getting off topic. The sound utility, though, on the other hand, needs to understand what is going on set. Like if you watch rehearsal and you do see that there's going to be tricky wardrobe on an actor, or during the rehearsal, an actor decides, they say, I'm going to have this actor change shirts. Well, obviously, you can't put a lav on that person. Or if the utility does, then there's got to be a reason for it. Like maybe the utility is told, put the lav on, and then right before the actor is going to take their shirt off, we're going to cut it. We're going to shoot the first part of the scene up to that point. Then when the actor takes his shirt off because he's going to change shirts and then walk out the door, that's going to be the cut point, and then we're going to turn around and then we finish the scene. It could be one of those things. But you, as a boom operator, watch the rehearsal, and you have to relay that kind of thing back to the sound utility. Just like if there is somebody who, in the middle of the scene, adjusts a tie. That would matter to a sound utility if they're going to be putting a tie, a microphone inside that tie. That's good information to give the sound utility. If, for example, I'm using a shirt like this shirt where I could easily put a lav right here. If I tell the sound utility that this shirt, that for example, this is just one example that you could do. If the actor is speaking this way, and I know my sound utility usually likes to hide a COS 11D sideways right here, maybe with the tad little bit of the element right at the very, very edge, and top stuck, and with top stick or super stick or something like that on top of it to keep the clothing down. If there's a chance that that could be seen by camera, I'm going to try to let the sound utility know that before we actually let them lav talent. Because if for some reason their wardrobe is going to reveal a lav, I'm going to want to try to let them know that. That way they don't have to re-lav them when it sounds good. And talent all of a sudden is going to, have to re-lav. It's going to be pestering to the actors too. Same kind of thing if we are hiding the transmitter in the small of someone's back and the person walks in, the actor comes in, first thing they do is they bend down and they grab something off the ground. Well, guess what's going to happen? The shirt is going to pull taut over their skin, revealing a transmitter on their back. So obviously that's not going to be a good decision either. So I'm going to let the sound utility know those kind of things because it is critical. Not just because, well, might as well. I'm not trying to micromanage the sound utility by any means, but that kind of thing is very critical for a sound utility to understand. Now, a sound utility is also going to be interfacing with talent as well. So if you call them to set to do any and all things, they're going to already have that rapport with the actors because they've already wired talent. They've already done that kind of thing. So calling them to set, like if, for example, you're working on a show and there's a closed set and the actors are going to be familiar with you as a boom operator because you are always on set with them. So if there's a scene where someone, there's a sex scene or there's a scene where people are topless or anything like that, the sound utility needs to come in and second boom. They're going to have that familiarity with the actors as well. So you don't need to worry about micromanaging them at all. Keep in mind, this person is just as equal as you on that set. I don't care if you're a boom operator who's been doing this for 30 or 40 years and the sound utility has been doing this for 2 shows. That sound utility deserves to be on set just as much as you do, and you need to watch out for them. But The sound utility is also one of those people that will be called in more often than not. I hear last minute by sound utilities, by boom operators to call them in last minute to second boom. Well, when that happens, usually it's because the boom operator can't get something on a boom. And if that's the case, try to call them in earlier. Now, how do you understand? How can you possibly do this? I mean, if I can't boom the whole scene and I call in the sound utility, then why isn't the sound utility going to magically be ready and jumping out there? It's because they're probably not expecting it. They're only going to expect it if you tell them. How are you going to know? You watch rehearsal. If you're an observant boom operator, you are also a filmmaker. You understand what's going to happen and when and how, right? So if you are an understanding boom operator, then you need to have an understanding of how filmmaking works. When I go to set and I look at the cameras, I don't just simply look at what the camera's framed up on and say that's the shot, because more often than not, it's not. The headroom's not going to be consistent, or the camera just fell off the truck and it's not got a lens on it correctly yet, or the shot is actually not that is just there for lighting purposes. Well, how is the sound utility who is running around fixing everything, bringing cables, cleaning cables, routing camera, camera, power, antennas, doing all this kind of stuff for the sound mixer and wiring talent and doing time code and everything else the sound utility does? You're going to call them in there, throw a boom in their hand and say, boom this scene over there, take this job, do this person? You have to be aware that that sound utility does have no knowledge of that set other than knowing the crew and the actors. They do not know where the lights are. They don't know where the shadows are going to be falling. They don't know the movements of the dolly. So you got to educate them. Now, a very experienced sound utility may also have a very good, strong background as a boom operator. And that's fine. You may be able to say, just watch it as you come through here, or swing it around. You'll see that. If you swing the boom pole upstage, you see that little shadow. Yeah, you'll keep aware of that. Actor's going to walk upstage right there and pick up that glass. And when they do, you got to follow them. Okay, cool. Fill them in real quick if they're experienced. If they're not experienced, you might need to hold their hand. I've worked with sound utilities before who I've literally had to go and say, oh, no, don't hold a pole like that. You're going to throw your shoulder out. This is a long take. You'll want to hold the pole this way in order to not kill yourself and be exhausted and drop a boom on the actor's head, 3 or 4 minutes or 10 minutes into the take. I will show them the ropes on how to tweak a technique, how to make something work, and but under no circumstances give them the harder shot. It may seem like having someone like this is an easier shot than the person that walks in the door, but just this last Friday, I was working on the show I'm working on. And it ended up being a very tricky lighting scenario. And not only that, even though both cameras were like this, at one point they swung around and got a group of girls walking in the door laughing and, speaking loudly. That's the shot I put the sound utility on, even though that utility had to walk about 10 feet with those actresses as they were talking, and then they sat down at the booth in the restaurant that I was at, that I was booming. But the reason why mine was a more difficult shot is because even though the shots were really tight, I had to be very far back, extended between two cameras with lighting that was front lighting the scene. And I had to come in at only a couple of angles, but I still had to get head turns that were turning away from the camera and stay consistent on them. So that meant I had to shift the boom outwards a little bit. I had to shift the boom, twisting it a few times in different ways. That made it more difficult. So a sound mixer may look at it and say, why are you taking the easy thing? Well, guess what? It's not actually easy. And don't give the sound utility the tougher shot just because you want to rest your arms. That is so lazy. Just like a sound utility didn't say, hey, you know what? Can you come out here and wire talent? I don't feel like it. No, that doesn't work either. Sound mixer can't just say, you know what? I have ear fatigue. I think I'm going to step out. Sound utility, you take the reins for an hour. I'm going to take a nap in the sound trailer. The sound utility also has to prep their boom, has to get all that kind of thing ready, do switches of batteries on talent and all this kind of thing. And at the same time, when that sound utility comes to set to make an adjustment, They may have to hand off their boom or hold their boom while fixing all this kind of stuff. Help them out. Walk over there. And if you see that they're going to be wiring talent, walk over to them, take that boom out of their hand. Disconnect it for them or whatever while they have to fix a lav or something if you think it's going to take more than just that. Because that sound utility has a lot to do. Same kind of thing at the end of the day. There's some sound mixers who are more old school that say, oh, that's a wrap. I think I'm going to drive home. Y'all got this, right? Okay, great. See you tomorrow. I don't like it when I don't like it when sound mixers do that. Just like I don't like it when I hear that boom operators say, yeah, sound utility, you got this, right? I mean, I put the boom over there. See you tomorrow. Sound utility now has 45 minutes of wrap that they have to do because the sound mixer and the boom operator decided to cut out when it only would have been about a 15-minute wrap if you went together. Not only that, quite oftentimes the sound mixer says, put us all out at the same time, which means that basically two things. Number one, you're lying about your hours because you are basically keeping the time card for the department and you have to listen to your boss and do what your boss says. And your boss says, give them an extra 45 minutes of time because they're leaving early, which is technically fraud. But at the same time, that sound, you get where I'm going with this. I have a philosophy, all hands on deck. I'm all for one, one for all. I'm all about helping out laying carpets. I'm all about getting out there and helping wrap things up at the end of the night. Gets us all out of there earlier. It creates a camaraderie between the sound utility and the boom operator. If the boom operator simply stands on set and sound utility, drop the carpets from here to here, please. Guess what? That sound utility is going to grow to have some animosity towards you. They may be professional and say, you know what, I'm not going to nitpick this and freak out about it. But at the same time, they're going to be thinking, what a lazy person. Now, there's a difference between that and doing things like lavs. You may only want to have one person in your department that's actually putting hands on actors. It may be that you in a tight spot or something like that, and there's 8 people to lav. You may jump in there and help with laving. Even though most of the time sound mixers will say, I'll jump in there. I need you to continue to run the set because if it's that big of a scene, chances are you're going to have to fight for some coverage. You're going to have to fight for not doing wides and coverage at the same exact time. And the boom operator is going to be better used on set simply for that reason. And you want to have someone representing the sound department because as soon as you walk away, like again, I think it was Thursday, I was actually helping move the tents because it was raining on us. We had to move the sound mixer's cart, and I was helping reroute some cables for the sound utility because the utility was in the middle of going crazy trying to work out of her cart that was far away. Well, so I was doing power picture antennas for the sound mixer and moving things around. Utility comes over when she finishes her task, and we're all hands on deck trying to help things out, trying to get things, set up for the sound mixer for this scene. I'm called to set. We'd like to have a representative from the sound department on set. Fine. I go to set and they say, yeah, Alan, we need someone to help out with the tent, with the tents in the shot. And I'm like, you pulled me off of set for me to go over there and help the sound mixer and the utility to do what exactly you're telling me to do. You pulled me away from that, and I had to walk basically a minute and a half to that set because it was pretty far away, especially in the rain and with the obstacles in the way. So it's like, okay, that was kind of loony. That happens too. Here's one of the things that baffles me. Boom operators that watch the rehearsal and don't relay anything at all to the sound utility. If there's nothing you have to do, then obviously if it's straightforward, whatever. But definitely keep an eye on there. I work with my sound utility and interact with them, and I let them know after watching the rehearsal and seeing where the blocking is going to be. I'll say, okay, I'm anticipating that we're going to want to have about 4 carpets for this scene. Carpets, of course, for silencing footfalls. If I know that we're going to use 4 carpets, I will tell the utility as soon as I can because the utility is most likely going to try to be combining trips. They're going to try to come to set to fix the lav, and if they're coming to set to fix the lav, they might as well bring those carpets with them and have them staged right at the edge of set so that way when it's time to, we can grab them and throw them in there quickly. letting a sound utility know that after rehearsal, say, we're probably going to need about 4 carpets in this for the walkarounds or something like that. Or there's going to be a lot of background in this scene, so we should go ahead and get going on foot foam for the background people as much as possible. That way the sound utility can go ahead and start cutting squares or doing whatever they need to do to silence the footfalls for the background. Let them know this kind of thing in advance. Just like I will let the sound utility know if I anticipate that they're going to be needed for second boom. If I have a group of people here and I have people this far away talking, I can obviously cover that. But as soon as someone walks in and delivers a line walking through the door, maybe even overlaps, or there's multiple people out there talking and delivering dialogue, and they're going to be overlapping and improvising over each other, ad-libbing over each other, or there's just any overlaps in general. If I'm going to want my my utility to second boom there with me, I'm going to give them a heads up. This person overlaps. Now, I'll talk to the director and see if we can shut that down or add a beat so that way I can make the swing, and that way we can keep it all in one boom, if that's possible. But if this is an intense scene where people are firing back and forth and there's too much of a distance, or like a barrier's between, like a bank teller and someone that's in front of the teller, and there's glass between you, obviously you need to have a utility unless you're going to plan something. But I will let my utility know in advance anything I see from the rehearsal that I think they need to know, just like I will let the sound mixer know the exact same thing. I think it's a team effort. We're all there trying to get the very best sound possible. Sound utility is going to be doing the lavs, prepping plants, doing whatever, that kind of thing, and second booming, and the sound the sound mixer is going to be mixing the tracks that both me and the sound utility put together and deliver him or her with. They all need this information too. It's not me keeping it secret because I'm going to do that. I'm the boom operator. I need this to be my job security. No, it's not. You need to interact with the department, let them know the information too, because it is all hands on deck. It is a group effort. You are the sound department with the best interests of the sound department in mind. That said, show some consideration for the sound utility. Tell them in advance as much stuff as you feel is important. If you watch the rehearsal and you anticipate that the person who is walking in from outside and they dump down their rain shoes or whatever, if they do that and they drop the shoes down on the ground and they're dripping someplace, then you might need to get some hog's hair down there, or you might need to put hog's hair outside if it's raining. Anticipate this. When you hear it go quiet for the rehearsal and it goes quiet, you're listening around, right? You're going to make sure that all the noises are shut down. If you hear something on, tell the utility. At that point, we're going to need to shut this down if it's not a locations thing. Or, better yet, you handle it yourself. You may have about a 30-minute lighting setup, and the utility may be going crazy, wiring and doing everything else. You have some time. That's not your time to just goof off and say, I think I'm going to go to Crafty and eat some donuts. Don't do that. Come on, man. Have your utilities back. Run some cables. Help out in the process. That's really what you need to be doing if you want to play with the big boys. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.